Hey, yo, this is Meek J, and I'm rocking with Mikey T, the movie star, and we live on Report Card Radio.
All right, so going from there, man, I want to take it back. I want to talk about the next step in your career. You know what I mean? I want to talk about getting a deal with Koch Records. How did your situation with Koch Records come about?
Well, I was working on my artist Kira, Whitney Houston's protege, right? And me and her was working on a project, just in the studio working, because once she was in the group Sunday, Whitney Houston's only group signed to Better Place Records with Robin Crawford, and that's my family. One of the girls in the group, Stacy Carr, that's my wife. We have 3 kids together. Kira is the lead singer of the band, and with me, we all family being around each other. Me and Kira started working on our own project once, they disbanded from Capitol Records with Roy Lott. So we were just me and her came together to try to build a solo project. And we were just working quietly. While we were working quietly, I had a few connections up to Virgin Records in New York, when Virgin Records was on 23rd Street back in the days. And at Virgin Records, a guy by the name of Stan Poses and Dominaton had a record label called Cheaper Sounds. And that record label, they put out D'Angelo at the time. So, I had the relationship up there, and I went to Stan Poses with Kira Project. He loved it. He said, look, he was just folding Cheaper Sounds at Virgin Records with D'Angelo, whatever, that whole project, whatever that business was, it went down. He was folding the company. Luckily, the timing I had before the company disbanded, I took my Kira project to him where he was interested, and when he folded Cheaper Sounds, we started a new company called SCJ Records, which stood for Stan Poses, Sharice Llewellyn. She worked with Monifa and all those type of artists back in the days, and Jameek. You know what I'm saying? But we later on changed that name to Street Corner Jams. So Stan believed in me. He invested in my project with Kira, and this is when I started becoming a household name with record executives, because Stan Poses is best friends with Clyde Davis, Peter Edge, Doniana, Tommy Mottola, you name it. He's a legend. He's Jewish, Stan. And he loved me, and he really, I got so many great people that came into my life. But Stan Poses is another great person that owns Cheaper Sounds, who really brought me behind the scenes. I had the street buzz, explaining how I worked with Jam Master Jay, Akinelli, Noriega, and I've been around the best of them. You get what I'm saying? Murder Inc., everybody. So everybody knows me. Chris Gotti, all these guys are my friends. I got history with all these guys. But Stan Poses is the guy who connected me to Bruce Carbone and all the major record executives, like Doug Morris. I was literally upstairs with Doug Morris. I was literally in rooms with Jason Flom. You see what I'm saying? Working with Stan. So now I got the buzz in the streets as a producer and running my own company. But then Stan brought the real music industry and record executive scene to me. So now I became a guy. I was slowly becoming a juggernaut in my own right. Not in the music industry per se, but we're having those relationships back in the streets. I was becoming a household name, and every upcoming artist wanted to rock with me because they knew I had the relationships and the personality and know-how to get to where they had to go, plus the talent. You know what I'm saying?
So Meek J, did you actually build a relationship with Cormega while you were at Koch, or was that beforehand?
I built a relationship with Cormega at Koch, and how that came to be was J. Wax Garfield, who's a Bad Boy producer. He was part of the Hitmen. He was working with Cormega. And remember, early on in this conversation, I said I worked with the Hitmen. So when I started working on Kira Project, I invited J. Wax and the Hitmen to work on the project. I invited Dame Grease to work on the project. So, I had all the relationship with these guys, and I felt that working with the Kira Project would, if I build a onslaught of producers that's already bigger than me and big names, and it's my project, but I got this all-star cast like Large Professor, because that's a friend of mine as well. I worked with Large Professor shortly and briefly when he lived, and he's from Flushing, but he moved to Jamaica, Queens, and Linda Boulevard, and me and my brother used to go down there and just rock with him and just watch and learn. You know what I'm saying? So I went and got Jay Wax. He went and got Ron Lawrence. I got Dane Grease. I had Large Professor. And we was taking this deal, me and Stan with Kira, to Universal with Bruce Carbone. And Jay Wax brought me over to Koch to work with Kira and produce on Cormega's Legal Hustle album. So that's how I got to meet Bob Perry and Cormega. Once we did the record Stay Up with Cormega on the Legal Hustle album, me and Kira, you know, I had Kira's mixtapes done, and I was also bubbling and buzzing Kira on DJ Finesse mixtapes. This is at the time when DJ Finesse and On Point were like the two hottest, you know, local DJs coming up in the game. And DJ Finesse had the R&B and hip hop mixtape, and he had the R&B and soul mixtape. And I would put records on his mixtapes, and I would market Kira's picture inside of his inserts. And I would cross market, put like at least 9 records on his mixtapes, different mixtapes. He would grade them, how hot they was. Then I would take them same 9 mixtapes back and put it out on my own mixtape, hosted by DJ Finesse, and I called it Around the Way Girl. Even though Kira was Whitney Houston's protege, I was building her somewhat like a Mary J. Blige, like how Ron G and Mary did it. I took a page out of their book, and that's how I was selling Kira to the major companies. And then when Cormega decided that he wanted to have Kira and I work on a project with him, that put me in the realm to do a deal at Koch. And, you know, so now I'm working with Universal with Bruce Carbone, and I'm also getting work done with Cormega. And Cormega, at Koch at the time, they didn't really want to touch the R&B because they felt like the R&B project was they didn't have the budget for it. But I explained to them, this R&B project is a hip hop project. And how we can win with it, you don't have to put a big budget behind it because we're going to do this just like a hip hop artist. So budget for clothes and all that stuff you got to do for R&B artists, we don't need that because she's Around the Way Girl. So we're going to dress in the female Tim booth, the jeans, and we're going to kill it with these street rap records, street hip hop and R&B records. And then if we put the project out and it starts to bubble, what we'll do is we'll sell our records at $9.99, whereas if Beyonce or Keisha Cole's at the time is hot and they see these at $18.99, but we got records that's competing, and we sell ours at $9.99. If a consumer walks in the store with $20, they walk in the Target or anywhere to get an album, or Walmart, anywhere to get this album, they'll say, I love Beyonce's single, I love Keisha Cole's single, and I love Kira's single, but this is my last $20. And I'm going to pick up this $9.99 project and then go catch a movie. Or I'm going to give me something to eat after I buy this. And that's how I sold the project. And Cormega believed in it, and he put the extra stamp on it with Bob Perry. I got the deal at Koch Records.
Can you talk to me about working with Bang'em, Smurf, and Domination? Did you meet them when you were a part of Koch Records?
Yeah, I met them at Koch Records, working with Kira, Cormega, all these guys, AZ, the whole MOP, everybody was up there. So I met them working up there. Yep.
Word. So take me into that, man. How did you actually meet them? How did y'all begin to work together?
I was in the studio once again with J. Wax Garfield because he was already a household name up there as a producer. Jay Garfield was like an older guy, you know what I mean? So he was like also like his protege too in a sense. So he was working on those guys' project. And, you know, Domination, Bang'em was in the studio. They were working. And meet Jake once again, the fly on the wall, just in the room, you know. And I got the opportunity to put some beats on and play music. And I had a great track called Say Goodbye, you know, and I had my artist at the time, Papa Don, on it. And Papa Don is from Ozone Park in Southside Jamaica, Queens. And I guess he had, you know, a little friction, a relationship with 50 at the time when they were supposed to be working together. I guess that's Jamaica Queens situation they had going on. And I did a record with him. He just so happened to put some bars down talking about G-Unit. And it was telling them to say goodbye to the game, you know. And, you know, that record It was crazy. And then it was just perfect timing, whereas I had that record done halfway, and Domination and Bengal Smurf heard it, and they jumped on it, and it became like an instant classic that never came out.
All right, all right.
Okay.
So take me back into that day now. So you're like, yo, this is crazy. Smurf, Damo, I actually got this record with my guy that's actually a 50 diss song, or how did it go? Could you explain it to me?
It was I played the record because I was playing the record in a sense of I just love the sound of the record. So the disc part of it, it's hip hop. So I don't look at it the disc part of hip hop where it turns into street beef and brothers have altercations. I look at it from the sense of the purity of what hip hop is, and hip hop started with battling and artists competing and seeing who's more craftier with their craft. So from that aspect of it, that's the way I looked at the record. And I loved the way it sounded sonically and what I created. No matter who he was talking about, the record was dope. And I loved it. And just the politics of it all and the timing of being in the studio with Bengal Smurf and Domination, and they was at the heat of the battle with 50 Cent, it just made sense to, hey, here's a great record. Let's see where it could go. You get what I'm saying? Because they was making a name for themselves. And all too well, 50 Cent know about that because he did the same thing with Ja Rule. So, history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. You could be at the top here and the underdog come and get you. And then when you become the top, here comes the next underdog coming for that throne. So that's just hip hop in its essence. You get what I'm saying? So the record got done. Domination smoked the record, and due to legal actions and things they had going on in the streets and with the law and all that type of stuff, that's the reason why the record didn't go have a chance to take a life of its own, because they got hindered with the streets and all the stuff that was going on with them at the time.
So actually having been compared to 50 Cent in your past, what did you think about the beef between 50 Cent, Bangum Smurf, and Domination?
I think that is hip hop. I think that hip hop is the streets. So they differences came from the just the essence of being boys. It just that it's illuminated by their talents and gifts in hip hop and their images. So I believe that it's the normal thing that happened everywhere in life in the hood. It's just that it happened on the hip hop stage. So I don't take sides with it. I think personally, I believe that for me, if I was 50 Cent, no matter what the difference was with Bingham at the time, because shit happens, I would have kept him on board. I'd have kept him on board because the team is stronger by keeping the roots grounded and keeping your foot planted with the roots. So you could work out differences. I would have kept him on board personally, but everybody has their own mind. I think what Bengal Smurf did, G Unit would have been even more powerful.